Let's turn to something we were talking about at the top of the show. Today marks exactly 1 year since Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich was wrongfully detained in Russia for alleged espionage, a charge both his employer and the U.S. government deny strongly. Earlier this week, a court in Moscow extended Evan's pretrial detention for a fifth time, stretching his imprisonment to at least the end of June and perhaps beyond. Joining us now, NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons, who's been covering this story so closely. Keir, good morning. That very powerful front page of the Wall Street Journal, a blank white space where the paper says Evan Gershkovich's reporting should be this morning. What do we know? We know he just had his pretrial detention extended. What do we know about his fate and the efforts to bring him home?
Well, Willie, there are huge efforts to bring him home, and what we know about his fate is very difficult to read, honestly. I mean, he can be kept in the Fortovo prison in Moscow for as long as the Russians want to keep him there. I mean, that hearing that you talked about, where, again, we asked to be there, our team in Moscow asked to be there, the press and media were told that they weren't going to be allowed in, and that hearing was really about whether he should still be held in pre-trial detention. He's not being tried. He's not being. We don't really even quite know what he's accused of beyond that it's an accusation of espionage, which, of course, the Wall Street Journal absolutely deny and say that he is a journalist. And you mentioned that front page, and I think Jonathan has that front page there.
Front page with the front page with the blank space where his story would be, and then the back, his face, of course.
Yeah, absolutely powerful message from the Wall Street Journal. I mean, look, this is a story in part of how Russia is now an intelligence agency, security agency run country. He is accused of espionage. There are others, of course. Paul Whelan, who is jailed there, accused of espionage, jailed for espionage, again, denies it. Elsa Komasheva from Radio Free Europe, who is accused of supporting Ukraine, again, by the FSB. Ksenia Karolina from California, accused of, and again, denies that she was supporting Ukraine, but accused of making donations. Again, it's the FSB running that. The FSB, the former KGB, the Fortovo prison, a notorious former KGB prison. So this is really all about the extent to which President Putin is in charge of a country where the most powerful organizations in the country are the FSB, the SVR, and in fact, we are pretty. It's pretty clear. Putin makes it pretty obvious that what they want to do is swap Evan and others for Russians held. Particularly at this stage, it looks like a Russian held in Germany, serving a life sentence for murder, who is an FSB officer.
And of course, Putin keeps seizing Americans. Wall Street Journal had a great story, Gene Robinson, yesterday about that, how Putin just keeps seizing Americans and uses them as pawns, innocent Americans, to get the worst actors out of prison. I don't know if you had a chance to see any of the Netflix series Turning Point, but for those that have not, it is a great reminder, especially for younger Americans, to understand just how brutal, how savage the reign of Stalin was. The millions and millions of Ukrainians he deliberately starved to get to death in a government-sanctioned famine. The millions of kulaks, 10, some people estimate 20, 30 million Russians died at Stalin's hands. And after Stalin's death, Khrushchev called out these crimes, and these crimes have been recognized up until recently. The police state that he had. Now you actually have Vladimir Putin praising Stalin. Stalin, once again, the figure of adoration in the old Soviet Union. And it lines up very neatly with the police state that Russia has become, as Keir said, even more so than before over the past year or two.
Absolutely. You know, I have not seen that series, but I've read a lot about Stalin, biographies and histories, and it absolutely one of the worst monsters of the 20th century, responsible for tens of millions of deaths, intentional deaths, including the horrific famine in Ukraine that he engineered and presided over with satisfaction. It is, and this is what Vladimir Putin looks back on with great admiration and nostalgia, and he looks upon himself, I think, as Vladimir the Great, who's going to restore, let's just say it, the Soviet Union, Stalin's creation, the Soviet Union to its former glory. And so why would anyone think that he would, for example, stop with Ukraine if he is successful there? Why would anyone think it's not a good idea for the United States and the West to do everything it can to thwart him in Ukraine, to contain this 21st century monster who wants to reclaim the Soviet Union's former, what he would consider glory. What he's done to Evan Gershkovich and the other Americans he has cynically kidnapped and is holding as hostages is deplorable. It's disgusting. It's illegal. It's wrong. And of course, there is very little we can do about it except keep on the pressure. And I so commend the Wall Street Journal for what it's done to keep Evan's name and situation in the news. Other news organizations are doing whatever they can to try to help in this effort, knowing that this is really out of our hands.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.